Welcome to Bhroman Braapsody. This is episode number 24. Today we are at Indian Motorcycles Greensboro. That is Monty Hendricks. He is the owner of Indian Motorcycles Greensboro. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you for being here.
Tell us a little bit about Indian Motorcycles Greensboro.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, Indian Motorcycle Greensboro was one of the first Indian motorcycle dealerships under Polaris, after Polaris purchased the brand and redesigned the motorcycles. And we opened up on May the 3rd, 2014. And we've been selling Indian motorcycles ever since. And we do it here to that original Indian motorcycle idea that we are more of a boutique type of dealership specializing in Indian motorcycle. 95% of our inventory is Indian motorcycles, with about 5% being the Polaris selling shop. Our service department, we're Gold certified, and I think that I'm probably one of the only Indian motorcycle dealership owners in the world that's a Gold certified technician. There may be another one or two of them out there, but I think it's pretty rare.
That's so cool. The owner is Gold certified tech, and the technicians are Gold certified, so you know you're gonna get a very good service out on your motorcycle. So what are we riding today?
This is the Scout Bobber 60. And this one is ABS equipped, so it has the anti-lock braking system. It's an absolute super cool motorcycle. It's very raw, it's very lean. It is really our entry-level point on the motorcycle lineup, and particularly in the bobber line. But it's still an amazing machine. 1,000 cc's. It's a 61 cubic inch engine. It has 65 horsepower and 78 foot-pounds of torque.
But not a crotch rocket, not a leader bike. This is more of a cruising kind of bike that you can use for going around town or anything, like tear up corners even if you want to do that.
100%. A lot of folks that buy this bike, they're going to take it to the Parkway, they're going to take it to the Tail of the Dragon, or they're going to use it to commute. Or they may even take a mid-distance ride for a few hours down to the beach. Yeah, but it's very versatile. It can be set up for two-up riding as well. And there are accessory pieces like floorboards and so forth that give it a little bit more feel of a big bike. But it is more of a, it's still a hardcore cruiser.
This is a, what, 500-pound bike, give or take?
Yes, it's around dry weight is going to be a little under 540 pounds. And so it's lower 500s with dry. So 100%, very, very lean and mean bike.
It's low, it's quite light.
It's interesting, bro, man. I'll tell you, we sell these to folks that are 5'2", and we've sold them to folks that are all the way up to 6'4". Yeah, because you can get the extended reach seat, and then you can do the extended reach controls, and even some different handlebars set up for really tall folks, or even have everything kind of brought together if you're a little bit shorter. Because the thing that we've learned over time is that folks are built different. Doesn't necessarily mean somebody's the same height. They're going to be built the same, because you can have one person's kind of long in the legs and short in the upper body and arms, and they're 6 feet tall. And then you can have somebody 6 feet tall that's the exact opposite. So we never know until they sit on it, and luckily the Indian Motorcycle brand has the accessory pieces to really customize all the way down from here on up the lineup, which has been awesome.
Yeah. This bike just looks so gorgeous, and it's so well balanced as well, right?
It really is. Yeah, and what they found is that with the original Scout lineup, a lot of consumers were taking them as bobbing. They were bobbing down the fenders and the rear fender. But the problem was for the average buyer, was trying to find a place that could do that for them, not damage the integrity of the bike. And so they wanted a little different look, but they didn't want their bike moving. So the factory recognized that, and they started coming with a bobber from the factory, which is great because now, you can get the bike looking just like this with a custom look, and it's still completely under factory warranty.
Yeah. And what we mean by bobber look is you see this rear fender, it's kind of chopped off right here, and the front fender in the front. The headlight just sits by itself, so it doesn't have a fairing. This looks so cool. I don't know, it's such a cool looking bike. And with all Indians, you get a lot of quality of work. Even like on this paint, I was telling him a little earlier, if you get this or the Roadmaster Elite, you have the very same paint quality. And when we take it out on the road, I'll show you that you can see there's little specks of shine in the paint. It's so well done. It's not like a cheap bike, even though it's an entry-level bike. with so much attention to detail. The lines continuous. Nothing feels like it's out of place on this one. Right?
No, absolutely. It would be very rare you would see a paint job these days coming from the Indian brand with anything as simple as even orange peel in it. You know, I mean, it really it's top quality. They have over the last several years worked to really modernize their paint process, and it's cutting edge like everything else at the factory for sure. And that's but that keen eye on your part, because for a lot of people, the paint is something that just they would notice if it was poor quality. You wouldn't necessarily notice if it was high quality. You see what I'm saying? So that's a keen eye on your part.
Oh, thank you. Now, but this bike again. We saw the Dark Horse last week. This to me looks like a Dark Horse Indian Scout. See the blacked out part? This is so cool. Now, if you're wondering what's the difference between an Indian Scout and the Indian Scout 60, the catch is the 60. You have a smaller engine. Correct.
Yeah, it's interesting because they really are the same base engine, but the 60 is more or less kind of sleeved down a little bit. So if I had a Scout 60 motor sitting here and a standard Scout motor and we picked them up, they would feel the same thing.
Okay.
Right, but it is a little different because this is going to be right around 1,000 cc's, whereas the standard Scout is 1133. Okay, the other big difference is the 60 variety is only a 5-speed, whereas the full, quote-unquote, full-size Scout is a 6-speed. Indian was so smart how they did it. Though for the 60, they took the Scout's first, second, third, fourth, and sixth gear, and that's the 5 gears here.
Okay.
So fifth gear in a 60 is really equivalent to 6th gear in the normal Scout. So you still have this kind of overdrive aspect that you add on the highway, which is very smart to do.
So you got 1 through 4 where you can act the fool.
Right.
And 6 is
For cruising.
yeah, like on my Roadmaster, I have my 6 to just cruise. The same similar concept. You can just cruise a lot on this stuff.
Well, it is, and it's critical for folks buying this, because some folks are buying this bike as a commuter and they want to get great gas mileage. You know, so this thing will cut loose and you can rip it through the turns and take it up to the parkway. But at the same time, if you're riding it day in and day out, and you're trying to kind of bite the bullet back a little bit on the gas prices, you've still got that nice six gear feel in 5th gear.
Absolutely. That's good thinking and design and engineering from Indian. That's what I was talking about. Like Indian is really putting a lot of thought behind their bikes and coming up with some really awesome bikes. So how do we differentiate, like for let's say a regular person walking up to a bike, there's an Indian Scout and an Indian Scout 60 standing right next to each other?
Right, well it's not easy, and I really appreciate that because of the fact that when you buy the 60, whether it's the Scout 60 or the Scout 60 Bobber, while those are technically our entry-level bikes, they're of that same high quality. And what's nice is a 60 Bobber and a Scout 60 Bobber and a Scout Bobber, you can use the same accessories. They go back and forth, okay? But a couple of key differences, if you're really keen to the eye about noticing the difference in a 60 and Scout 60 Bobber and a standard Scout Bobber, is that the 60 will have the traditional headlights on it, okay? Whereas the Scout Bobber will have the extended inverted mirrors. I'm sorry, did I say headlights?
Yeah.
Oh, oops, mirrors, yes. So the mirrors will be, you have them for the inverted on the bar ends. And so that's one key difference. The other key is in the tank art. The 60 lineup usually just has the Indian branding here, whereas the standard Scout and the standard Scout Bobber will also say Scout across the bottom. So those are key differences. In years past, the framing was a little bit different color, but that's now consistent across the line. And of course the seat, or as I like to call it, the tail light. The seat on the 60 Bobber is all black, whereas the standard Bobber Scout is got the tan knockout.
Tan and all the different. But people can always change the seat out to throw you off and say like, no, this is the Scout. No, it's Scout 60 because it doesn't say Scout there.
Right. 100%.
And Monty pointed out during our last video when we did the Challenger of how they integrated the radiator with the bike's frame, right?
Yeah,
same
100%.
thing here.
Absolutely, and that's super critical on a smaller bike like this. Makes so much power out of this size engine, but the radiator is actually recessed back into the frame. So again, much like the Challenger, the frame is split and the radiator is recessed back. So when you look at it from the side, you still have these nice clean lines on this bike. You don't have this ugly radiator hanging out here like you often see on our metric frames.
Yeah.
They a lot of times they're going to put a radiator in this out there, and it's kind of just form follows function. But we know we're selling an American-made cruiser. That particular buyer is concerned about the look, the performance, and the rideability, all three. And those are key for that complete package. And one other little key difference, as I actually get over here to the actual headlight, the bobber, Scout 60 bobber will not have the little bezel cover here. Whereas a standard Scout bobber, there is a little bezel cover here that kind of hides the wiring. But it's funny because we notice it as salespeople, but usually buyers don't notice until we point it out to them. So there's just some little tiny nuances that they've made, just some little differences.
Once again, thank you so much for having us here.
This is a good looking bike. I love the blacked out engine parts. See, the side profile is beautiful. You have the fender chopped off there. It sits low. You have the bobber seat. The whole package comes together so beautifully. When you're out in the sun or in direct sunlight or whatever, I don't know if you can see it on this, but you can see like these little flakes in the color, in the paint, and that's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful job by Indian. You get the similar sort of paint on an Indian Roadmaster Elite or a Scout 60. So it doesn't matter if you're buying an entry-level motorcycle from them or the biggest and baddest they have to offer, you get the same quality product. At the heart of the Scout 60 is the 60 cubic inch 1000cc liquid cooled V-twin engine, and it has this little eye for the Indian logos on both cylinders. And at the bottom it has the exposed rear suspension on both sides, and again, this does not have a single tail light here. These two act as tail lights and turn signals. This bike has a 29-degree rake angle. What is the rake angle? Well, you draw a perpendicular from the steering column and then you follow the fork tube. That angle is called the rake angle. You have to turn the key on this side. So on your right side you have the kill switch and your starter button. On the left side you have your high beam, low beam, turn signal with hazards, and the horn. And on top you have a little trigger, that button there, that will help you cycle through the options on your digital tab here, because you have this nice old school look, old school speedometer with you have little warning lights for high beam, air message, left and right turn signals, ABS, neutral, low fuel, and check engine. And then under this digital display here, you have your you have a digital tachometer, your trip odometer. See, that's your tachometer because it says RPM 0 right now at neutral, and your time, and your battery voltage, and things like that. So let's get started, shall we? So first impressions, I don't have a big windshield or anything here. That's that's new to me, because the last few bikes I've been riding and test driving have had windshields or a dash. That's not here, so that's something new for me. And although this is like a smaller bike, I am sitting quite comfortably. I am about 5'10" with a 31-inch inseam, and my feet are not at a weird angle. I'm actually quite comfortable sitting on this bike. The mirrors have the Indian logo on it, as do most of these Indian motorcycles. They say Indian quite a few times on it, quite a few times. And that's the fun part. They don't want you to forget that you're riding an Indian, but it's not a bad thing. They make some beautiful bikes. Look at these foot pegs. They're all blacked out. And they look nice. It's light and nimble, and this is gonna be a lot of fun. You get a decent amount of torque throughout the gears, so you're never left wanting for more power. I mean, you might think like, hey, let's get some more power, but you really don't need it. It's quite good the way it is set up. Now this bike does not have the different riding modes, but let's see how good it can pull, shall we? I like it. I was not expecting that, to be honest with you guys. I was not, but this was a very good surprise. Is it a good motorcycle that you can use to commute? I think you can. This is the ergonomics of this motorcycle is quite comfortable, so you can get some commuting done, no doubt. Maybe not the best for long distance touring, but hey, if you're looking to commute, go around town, run errands, or just have some good-natured fun, then this is the bike for you. This is definitely the bike for you. This is not a very expensive bike either. You have two variants. There's the ABS and the non-ABS. So with the ABS, I think the ABS costs a little over 10,000, and the non-ABS is maybe $500 or $700 less. So this is not a really expensive bike to buy. Oh, so this bike doesn't cost much to buy, but how much does it cost to maintain? Well, let's head to the punk and talk about the cost of ownership.
If you like what we do here at Bhroman, give us a like and subscribe. So an annual service on your Scout Bobber 60 is going to be about $230 at your local dealer. So over a 2-year period, you would need 2 of these, so that's $460. And you would need your tires changed at about 10,000 miles. Your tires might last you longer or shorter depending upon how you ride. But at an average, these should last you about 10,000 miles in normal riding conditions and normal riding. A set of tires, front and back, is about $410 at your local Indian dealers. So that brings us to a total of $870 over 2 years. Divided by the number of days, it's about $1.20 a day.
Well, thank you, punk. Now, the last part of our video, is this a good beginner bike? This definitely is. This is a great beginner bike. It is light. It's not as heavy as your other cruisers. This has got power, but not crazy power. This is very usable power. This is very light, very nimble. You can throw it around. I think this is a very good beginner bike. Amazing. And if you're getting new to motorcycling and you want to get into the cruiser space, but you're not sure if you should get what kind of cruiser you should get, well, go check out the Indian Scout 60. This might just fit the bill because it's light, it's nimble, it doesn't cost a lot, and yet it's a lot of fun to ride. All good things must come to an end, so guys, keep your knees in the breeze. Let's head back to the punk and wrap up this video.
It looks so cool. It's a bobber. It's quite light. It's very nimble, thanks to a shorter wheelbase. It has a decent amount of power. It's a great bike for beginners. It's a great bike even for folks who have like a bigger cruiser or bigger touring bike and they want something small to have fun and put a stupid grin on their face. This is a great bike. This bike can accommodate riders of different heights as well. It's great for shorter riders, it's great for taller riders. You have these extended reach seats, extended reach foot controls and all of that, so it can accommodate your height and all of that. So it's a great bike to have stupid fun with. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.